everybody, my name is Mars. You can call me Mayor MG if you would like, and I'm starting another Let's Binge a Book series vlog today. The series in question being the Seafire trilogy by Natalie C. Parker. This is a YA trilogy with pirates and kind of slight fantastical elements from what I remember. So, yes, let's go through the books and just talk about them a little bit. So the first book in the series is, of course, Seafire, and I have read this before, but it has been quite a while, and I don't remember much of it, except for the fact that I really thought it was queer going into it, and ended up not being queer. This is about a female pirate and her brother, maybe? Was taken or something, and she's going to rescue him, something along those lines. And so it's her and her crew, and it was good. I don't think I would have kept it and wanted to continue with the series if I hated it. I honestly just don't remember much at all. But yeah, I read this several years ago, and I'm ready to give it a reread. Book 2 is Steel Tide, and I have not read this one. The first one I actually bought at the dollar store many years ago and then read it, and then maybe 2 years ago I found this one also at the dollar store, and I was like, okay, well I have to get it. The covers don't match. Also the first one is like a very matte feeling dust jacket, whereas this one's very glossy. But yeah, this is the continuation. I have no idea what happens in it. And finally, the third book in the trilogy is Stormbreak. Again, haven't read this one, don't know what happens in it, but I ended up buying this off of Book Outlet a couple months ago because it was on there for very cheap, and I'm like, I own the first two, I might as well buy the third one, and then I can binge them, which is the plan here. So, as you can see, this is also a glossy cover that matches the second one. I kind of wish the first one matched, but also, it's not that big a deal to me. So, like I said, I have read Seafire before and thought it was okay. I don't really remember much of it, so I'm hoping I actually like it more on this reread. Who knows? But I'm going to get started on that today. It is the 19th, it's a Friday, and I'm hoping to finish up these 3 books before the end of the month, which should be very doable because YA tends to go very quickly for me. They're not super long books. I think they're all somewhere in the 400-page range. And I have, how many days are there in May? 31? So I have a little under 2 weeks. I think this is very doable. So I'm gonna update you guys once I actually start reading the book. Hello friends, it has been several hours. Not a lot. A few. I don't remember what time I updated you, but it's about 7:30 now, and I am 130 pages into Seafire. I don't know why I moved it like you could see the cover when I took the dust jacket off. But yeah, I'm just a smidge past the 1/3 mark because there is 374 pages. So I'm enjoying it. I didn't expect to hate it. I mean, I read it before, but I have a couple issues. Mainly the fact that it's YA. I feel like the story would be a lot better if it wasn't. Also, I apologize for any weird sounds you might hear in the background. The dryer is going. Yeah. It doesn't feel like it should be YA. The writing and everything is very YA, but I feel like the story itself would lend better to new adult, maybe not fully adult, but new adult for sure. The characters are 20, 21 years old-ish. I'm estimating because in the prologue, that's the word. It doesn't say prologue in here, it just says before. But the prologue, the main character has that, when the female main character sees a male character and they're like, he must have been only a little bit older than me. They're always a little bit older than the female main character. I don't know why, but it was that moment. But she said that, and then she also, thought it, and then thought couldn't be more than 17, so I assume she is at most 17, probably 16, and then there's a 4-year time skip to the next chapter, the first chapter, so she's probably about 20. And I just feel like 20 is kind of old for a YA protagonist. And this would just fit new adult more. I feel you could explore some themes more deeply if it was new adult rather than YA, that sort of thing. I can see why I thought it was gay. I'm very much feeling the gay vibes again on this read, but I know it's not going to be gay, which sucks. I think more things should be gay. In this case, sapphic, because the main character is a woman and she runs an all-female pirate crew. There are a lot of really good one-liners in this that I didn't remember. Like, there's one part where the crew is pretending to surrender so that they can rob this ship, and since she's the captain, she goes first, and the captain of the other ship knocks her to her feet, and he says surrender is made on your knees or something, and I just really like that line for some reason. There's a couple of other parts, like they're talking about one character who's like a really good fighter, and they say the reason she fights so well is because of how deeply she loves, and the only thing she feels more deeply than love is mourning. That was a very bad paraphrasing of that line. The line in the actual book is much better, but it's that kind of vibe. So yeah, I'm really enjoying this. It's going by very, very fast. It's a very easy to read book, and I'm happy about that. I'm definitely gonna do more reading tonight. Right now, I think I'm gonna have some ice cream and watch some YouTube, probably watch some anime, because lately I feel like people haven't been uploading to YouTube as much. But if I can find something on YouTube, I would watch that. That's my boyfriend sneezing in the background, if you heard that. Yeah, take a little break from this and get back to it maybe in an hour or so. I don't have anything else planned for the rest of the evening, so my docket is free for reading after I have a little snack. So I probably won't update you again tonight. I will see you tomorrow. Hello friends, it is just about 4 p.m. on the 21st, and I have finished reading Seafire by Natalie C. Parker, and I am surprised by how much I enjoyed this. I think I liked this more this time around than the first time I read it, which was 2 or 3 years ago. Yeah, I'm still under the belief that this gives off big queer vibes, and it's not actually queer, which is a little bit upsetting, but I found myself more okay with the relationships that felt like they could be going in a queer direction. I feel like they are just fine as they are. Obviously, I would like some to be queer because that'd be great all the time. I also found myself caring about the characters more than I remember the first time, and genuinely being upset at some of the deaths and stuff. I'm still of the same opinion that if this was written not for YA and for a slightly older age range, it would lend itself to the story better, because I feel like while the YA style of writing does lend to this being a very quick read, which I enjoy and think suits the story, I feel like it kind of kneecaps itself, if that makes sense. You kick someone's knee out from behind them and they stumble. I feel like if this had been given that little bit more space to explore different themes and relationships, I think it would have been so much better. But overall, I think I would give this a 7. I'm tempted to give it an 8, but I think it'd be a 7 out of 10. But now that that's finished, I get to pick up book 2, which I don't have next to me to hold up, but it is Steel Tide, and I'm very excited. I will be picking it up probably later tonight before I go to bed, so I'll get a couple chapters in, and I will see you when I have an update about it. Okay, you're propped up on my bookshelf right now because I just had to update you. It's literally been 10 seconds since I filmed the last clip. I just pulled Steel Tide off my bookshelf to pick it up and read it, and not read it right now, but put my bookmark in it and put it by my nightstand. For some reason I'm let me read the author bio, and it says her wife. You probably can't read that. I didn't know that Natalie C. Parker was queer. I don't know if she's lesbian, bisexual, whatever. She's married to another woman. That's very exciting. I love learning about authors being queer, not just queer, but also disabled authors and neurodivergent authors. I just love reading books from people who are similar to me in that regard. It just makes me really happy, so I'm very, very excited. Also, a little bit more confused now as to why this isn't explicitly queer. Maybe we'll get that in this book or the third book, I don't know, but yeah, I just had to give you that little update. Hello friends, it is about 2 p.m. on the 22nd? Yeah, that sounds right. I am 50 pages into Steel Tide, book 2 in the trilogy, and it's this lovely blue color, which I think is very pretty, and it's interesting. So I don't know how much I told you about the plot of the first book while I was going through. I don't think I told you much, but basically the main character, Caledonia, she had this traumatic thing happen to her. That's what happens in the prologue of the first book. And then it cuts to 4 years later, and she's the captain of this all-female pirate crew, and a bunch of things happen. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but she ends up on this mission to find her brother, who she thought had died 4 years prior. Her brother and also her best friend's brother, they were apparently both taken in the same event, and so they're on this mission to go find them. Lots of stuff happens. The end of the book, Caledonia is separated from her crew. So that's where we pick up here. We do have a prologue, and it's the same event as the first book, but it's from the main character's brother's point of view, which I thought was really interesting. I thought it went on for way too long. The prologue was like 15 pages, when I feel like the average chapter in these books has been like 7 pages, so it just kind of dragged a little bit, but we have Caledonia now with this new group of people that have kind of taken her in because she's all alone and everything. She was very severely injured, and I kind of feel like a love triangle is happening because there was like a hint of a love like interest in the first book. She like shared a kiss with someone, and I'm not sure how I feel about that relationship. I don't dislike it, but I also feel like it was a little bit out of nowhere. It was like understandable from the perspective of it being a YA book. You can see Gremlin's little head peeking up over there. That's cute. But anyway, there are 3 characters that are pretty important in this first 50 pages that are part of this group. There are 2 guys and 1 girl, and honestly, I can see any of the 3 of them becoming a secondary love interest for Caledonia. I have no idea if the series is queer. Like I said, I really went into the first one the first time I read it, thinking that it was going to be a sapphic book, and it wasn't. But maybe we get some bisexuality in here. Who knows? I will keep you updated. But for now, I'm going to go have a little bit of a late lunch and then read some more of this later. Hello friends, it is about 10 p.m. and I wanted to give you an update. So I'm on page 119 of Steel Tide, and I just think there's some interesting stuff going on here that was like started in the first book, but it's really becoming apparent in the second one. So the first is the like very hard topic of drug addiction, and especially like forced drug dependency. That's a tactic that the like main bad guy uses in this to keep his like, they're called bullets, his basically they're child soldiers, like working for him. He gets them dependent on this drug called silt, and we see characters go through withdrawal. We see characters who are like desperate for the next dose, and I think from what I know, it's very well done. I personally haven't struggled with anything like that, but I do know some people who have, and I think that this is a conversation that's pretty well done in these books. Another thing is the idea of consent. So the group that Caledonia is with in this book, I'm sorry if you can hear my boyfriend yelling in the background. He's getting very excited about his video game, and now the AC is about to kick on. Regardless, the group that Caledonia is with, they are very firm on the idea of consent. Like, she's very, very injured when she comes to them, and they, like, patch her up when she's unconscious, of course, but they don't do, like, any super invasive things without her consent. Like, they stitch up her wound so she won't bleed to death, but they have this thing that's called a nano patch, and it's, like, technology that can knit your skin together 10 times faster than it can do itself. And they're like, we're not going to give this to you if you don't want it. We understand if you would rather heal the natural way. like, we need your consent, and the one guy, whenever he wanted to spar, he would specifically say, "Do you consent to spar with me?" It is a little bit annoying to read the word consent 300 times a chapter. It's obviously not that many times, but like, it's very frequently used, like, that word explicitly instead of just being like not using that specific word. But I do really like the conversation that's happening with consent. Yeah, I just think it's very well done, and a contrast to the first book, especially in the romance department. So like I said, there's I'm sorry, I'm so tired and I'm losing my words. There's like the hints of a romance in the first book, and it's literally just 2 kisses. And the first kiss, Caledonia and this guy, they're like doing something, they're very physically close to each other, it's a very intimate moment, and he reaches over and like leans in to kiss her, and their lips like very briefly touch, and she like backs up and she says, "When I want to kiss, I'll be the one to take it." And then later on she does kiss him, like, of her own accord. And here, with one of the characters, they're like, the other character is the one who put the nano patch on Caledonia, and since then they haven't touched, and right now they're like having this really heartfelt conversation, and she puts her hand out, and Caledonia like places her hand on this other person's hand, and Caledonia's thinking about like how she wants to like pull this character in for a hug and like treat her the way she treated her old crew members, like that physical familiarity, but she won't do it without this person's express permission. And I just think it's very refreshing to see that in a book, even if the language used is pretty repetitive. So I think that's a really cool thing going on. As for the plot, I'm very much into it. This isn't like anything groundbreaking, but it's a really fun series so far. So I'm very much looking forward to continuing on. I'm going to try and get to page 200 tonight, so that's 80 pages. It should take me like an hour with how quick this book is going. So I'm not going to update you again tonight, but maybe tomorrow, so I'll just see when I have more to say. Hello friends, it is just after 5 p.m. on the 23rd, and I have just finished Steel Tide. Woo! Of course, as soon as I press start on filming, a plane is gonna go by. Great. Also, it isn't just finished. Technically I finished this 45 minutes ago, but I've been watching Crystal stream, and I thought about muting it and just having it play in the background while I updated my vlog for a minute, but then I'm like, I actually care about what Crystal is saying. So, also, I would very much get distracted by the stream in the background and forget what I'm saying, which I don't need help doing. Yeah, so I don't remember if I updated you last night before I went to bed. I remember saying that I wanted to get to page 200, and then I read a ton. I actually got to page 260, but I genuinely don't remember if I updated you in real life or just in my dream. Yeah, in case I didn't update you, some things that happened. One of my favorite characters got killed off. Are we surprised? No. It was genuinely sad. But we go on. There was actually only that one major death. Like, there were a couple of other very, very minor named characters who died, and then of course a lot of unnamed characters who die because there's kind of a war going on. But it was just that one that like really hit me. As for reading the rest of the book, I like all of what I read today, which was about 150 pages. I was so enthralled, I could not put it down. It was so, so good, and I cannot wait to pick up Stormbreak. It's a little bit shorter than this one. This one was about 430 pages, and the other one is 420, which is funny. So it's like not that much shorter, but like a smidge shorter, and I'm just so excited for it. I don't really like where the romance is going. I just feel like the couple is not bad, it's just not really supported enough for my taste. It kind of just feels thrown in there for the sake of it being there because it's a YA. Chloe is scratching at the door. But I'm not against the romance in this book. I just don't particularly care for it. But some what the hell moments happened right at the end of this book, so I am just so excited to pick up the next one. I will probably pick it up right after I eat dinner, which is gonna be soon. I'm very hungry. Yeah, so that's my update. I will see you guys in a little while. Hello, friends. It is about 1:45 on the 24th, and I'm about a quarter into Storm Break, and I'm really, really loving it. This series just keeps getting better and better. It's just so good, and I feel like it's because each book does have its own plot and like whole arc, but I feel like the series arc is stronger than the individual books arcs, if that makes sense. And so you read the first one and it's good, but then you read the second one, it just builds on top of that. And now here we have the third one, and it just keeps building and building and getting better. And I'm just really, really enjoying this series so much. This feels very Save the Cat beat sheet, but not in a bad way. I don't mean that as an insult. I mean it like book one is such a solid first act, setting up the world, setting up the story. And then in the second book, we get that second act where things are reversed, things that we thought we knew aren't the case anymore. The characters are learning to adapt to this new world, and then this book, we've had that kind of coalescence of the two, and they have to work together, and it's just really, really, really well done. And I can't wait to keep reading this book. Okay, first I'm going to apologize for any commotion that you might hear in the background. The cats are going absolutely crazy out in the living room right now, so they might get a little bit loud. Anyway, it is 11 p.m. on the 24th, and I'm just over halfway, and by just over, I mean I finished this chapter and it put me like 3 pages past the halfway mark of Stormbreak, and I'm loving it. It's so good. It's still not perfect, but like, it's really, really good, and this writing style is just so compelling. It's so good. One thing that I would like to talk about is, remember when I was reading book 2 and I was like, there are some characters here that all feel like potential second love interests to make a love triangle? About that, one of the characters is now dead. The other two are romantically entangled. So, there was still a couple of moments where it seemed like one or two of them could have been love interests, but it never went further than a couple of moments. But, yeah, so those are ruled out. I still don't love the romance in this. It does feel rushed, and it doesn't have, like, a solid foundation. And that's really the, like, biggest issue I have with the series. And even then, it's not, like, a huge issue. So, yeah. We did get the whole I love you scene where the one character says I love you and the other one is like, what? Because they hadn't been thinking about that kind of thing at all. I was wondering, because at the beginning of this book, the two characters, like, had a romantic moment, and I'm like, have these characters said I love you? Because that's an important thing in a romance, even if it's not, like, a romance story, if it's, like, a subplot that's a romance, like, the characters have to say I love you at some point, and if they don't, that's, like, a very obvious absence of something happening. And so I was like, I wonder. And then, like, a couple chapters later, they had that moment. I'm like, So, I have about 200 pages left. I'm not going to promise anything, but I might be able to finish this tomorrow. It depends, because I have a lot going on tomorrow. I want to finish editing my novel, which is 14 chapters left, so a lot of work. I also have a video to edit, and there was some other stuff that I had to do. Now I can't remember. But anyway, if I have the time, I'm going to be dedicating it to reading this book, because I really need to see how it all plays out. You got the character making, like, these moral things. I don't know why I said making. That really messed me up on that sentence. Having these, like, moral quandaries and keeping secrets from her friends because she doesn't want them to have to make the hard decisions. It's so good, guys. I'm very tired though. So I think I'm gonna go to sleep now so I can be well rested and read more tomorrow. You can probably hear the cats playing now. They got that ball on the track thing. They're so cute, but like, why does this have to happen right before we go to bed? Anyway, good night, friends. Hello, everybody. It is about 4:30 in the afternoon on the 25th, and I have finished reading Stormbreak by Natalie C. Parker, the third book in the trilogy, and I was so engrossed in this that I forgot to film my time lapse of me reading the last chapter like I usually do for these vlogs, so I'm a little bit miffed at myself, but it's fine. I enjoyed this book so much. It had me gripped. It was amazing. I am so pleasantly surprised by this series. I did not think I would enjoy it as much as I did. It's not perfect. I did have some issues with it, but let me talk about this book before I get on with the series as a whole. So this book, we got more queer characters, which is great. We also had some deaths that I was sad about, but I understand why they were there. And the ending is interesting. So, okay, first of all, you know how I've been saying there's a prologue in each book? So, all three of them have prologues, but they're called before instead of prologue. There's an epilogue in this one, and it's just called the epilogue. You couldn't call it after and make it, cohesive? I don't know. Anyway, this book I felt was a very strong conclusion, even if the epilogue was a little bit lackluster. I did really have a great time reading this, and I'm just still in shock about that. So, for the series as a whole, I would say the biggest flaw is that it is written in a YA style. This is quintessential YA writing, I feel. But the story isn't YA. It's not quite adult, but bordering between new adult and adult. And the writing style is fine. I really like the quick pace of it. I feel like that lends itself to the story really well. But it doesn't go deep enough for me, if that makes sense. I wish this was written for a slightly older audience in mind, and I think it would have made the story work better. The characters, most of them, I'd say a good 80% of the characters are in their early to mid 20s, and then there are quite a few who are older than that, and then a handful who are younger, so I feel like it would have been fine to age up the demographic, but that's my biggest issue with that. There's not really anything else that I take super huge issues with. I mean, the romance, I've said before, doesn't have the greatest foundation, but it's fine for what it is. And that's really it. I don't have any other things, little nitpicky details here and there, but for the series overall, that's the only stuff that I found myself not enjoying. Everything else, the world building, the storyline, the characters, everything was so well crafted. You could tell that this author really took her time to figure everything out before she went in and wrote this story, and all the different things connect. It's really good. I wish this book series had maps. There's no maps in these books, and maps would have made this so much better because they go to a bunch of different islands and stuff, and I just found myself a little bit confused where things were demographically, and I just think a map would have been perfect. And so I guess that's the end of this vlog. I've had a wonderful time reading these books, and I'm so happy that I did this. I would say that if you're a fan of quick-paced books, if you like light sci-fi, and if you like pirates, this is definitely a series you would enjoy, so definitely check it out. But that is all for me today. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give it a big thumbs up. You can subscribe to my channel for more content, and that way I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye, everyone.